and welcome to Favourite Book.
I'm joined by Lil from Lil's Vintage World. Hello, Lil. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Before we get into your favourite book, I thought I would say 2 clues for people watching as to what your favourite book is, that they might be able to guess your book from the clues. So, clue number 1, it was published in 1938. And clue number 2, it was adapted into a film in 2008 starring Amy Adams and Frances McDormand. So, Lil, what is your favourite book?
My favourite book is Miss Pettigrew, Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson.
I read this book last year and absolutely adored it. And I think I heard it in a video and you commented on it and you were like, oh, like that book's so good, I love it, and it really persuaded me to read it as well. So for people that haven't read it, give a bit of a plot.
Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day is like an adult retelling of Cinderella, so it's all set in one day. And our main character is Miss Pettigrew. She's 40 years old. She's really down on her luck. She is by trade a governess, but she's out of work, and the place that she's looking at going to next is possibly the workhouse because she's that skint. So she goes to an employment agency with hope that there'll be something for her, and she goes there, and luckily there's been 2 possibles for work, and that is a Mrs. Hillary for a maid and Miss LaFosse for the governess. And because Miss Pettigrew by trade is a governess, she goes to what she thinks is the governess position, and so she goes to Onslow Mansions on time at 10 o'clock. She's knocking on the door and she's waiting there, and then suddenly this beautiful, glamorous, blonde woman in this silky negligee answers the door, and she's swept into Miss LaFosse's life, a life full of men and relationships, friendships, and the glamour and the cocktail parties, and it's just wonderful. And it's these 2 different extremes of the 1930s, the very traditional Miss Pettigrew of Victorian Edwardian sort of society versus the bright young thing of Delicia LaFosse. So that's it.
I adore this book so much, but I think it works so well because they are such opposites.
Yeah,
kind of got Miss Pettigrew is quite dowdy, and she doesn't really have any passions of her own or hobbies. She's always done kind of her duty. Her duty is to be a governess. It's the sensible thing to do. She like dresses very sensibly. She's never done anything for herself. And then like that she would want to do. And then LaFosse just does whatever she wants. She doesn't care whose feelings she hurts. And she has all these different men on the go. And then Miss Pettigrew really is kind of the secretary of her love life, is what it kind of becomes. And I love also the bits where Miss Pettigrew is like, this is so shameful. This is such a disgrace, but I'm loving it. Like, it's thrilling. I'm so excited. This goes against all my morals. And then when she's talking about like her family, and she's like, what would they think of me doing this right now? It's against everything I believe in, but this is such an exciting day. Why is this book your favourite book?
I think for a couple of reasons. I love the 30s, generally speaking, in terms of vintage and vintage fashion and the lifestyle. I like the fact that the 30s is this time where women are rising up and becoming more individual, and they're having occupations, and they can go out and be a single woman because, of course, the First World War's happened. There are less men available, so it's okay to be a single woman. You don't have to get married. You can have a career and all that. I love the fashions. I love the cocktail parties. I love the fact that there's 2 different sides. It's kind of traditional 30s woman who's doing the traditional things of getting married, housewife, or having an occupation, sticking to it. And then there's this other side of this bohemian kind of bright young thing that is Delicia LaFosse. And I love that aspect. So that's one side. The other side is more of an emotional thing, really. My grandmothers were both born in 1920, and they both did war work. And actually, one of my grandfathers, he was in the army during the Second World War anyway. And so in 1938, when this book was published, they were 18. And it's that time where actually a lot of the things that like Delicia was doing, my grandparents were probably doing. And particularly my paternal grandmother, she was always the first woman up for the dance floor. She was like, whenever we used to visit her, we used to have to take a bottle of baby sham with us. And she was just so fun. And when I used to talk about my memories and stuff we have, and her memories of like the war and stuff and pre-war. She always talks to us about getting dressed up, and that always used to be her favourite thing, ready to go to the dances. And it was wonderful. And I know that, I mean, me and her, when she used to come and visit, we used to have like little reading groups together. So we used to pick a couple of books and we used to spend a whole day reading them, and then we just chat like how me and you are chatting now, and it was wonderful. And I know if she read this book, one, she'd probably find herself in it, but also I think she'd love it as well. So it's a way for me to connect to my grandmother, who sadly isn't here anymore. So
that's so lovely. And it's so lovely that also you have that like little book club between the two of you, this like special little thing. What kind of books would you read? Children's books or anything?
Bit of a mix, really. We both loved reading, so we used to read a lot of fiction, a lot of like women's fiction, but also a lot of historical fiction. When I was younger, we used to read do you know the My Story books?
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Bloody Tower and Anne Boleyn and Me. We used to read a couple of those together, different ones. And then we used to spend the rest of the day just talking about it. But then as I got older, we would read like Philippa Gregory and things like that. And yeah, we just spent the whole day reading and then the whole evening chatting, and it was wonderful. When she was older, she'd always still want to dance anyway. Despite the fact that she's not in the 30s or 40s, she'd still be like, wanted to have a cocktail, and she'd still want to be up on the dance floor. And yeah, so she really is a Delicia. I think it's brilliant because I know the film decided to put the war in it, but the book, there is no hint of war. And it's that peak of happiness that my grandparents would have had before the horrors that they went through, sort of thing.
Yeah, so, that is a difference. So have you seen the film?
Yeah, I own it.
Do you like it? So you must like the film.
I have to own it.
So did you think it was a good portrayal of the book? I would say it's a different portrayal of the book, because the book doesn't have mention of war, where war is in the they're dancing, aren't they? And then the sirens go off. So you know what's happening, you know it's war. So you're taken out of the book. I find it's just so lovely. It's escapism. It does have a little bit of sadness because Miss Pettigrew has never been in love. And you feel like that's kind of a regret that she's never felt love. And I felt those bits were so sad because Flossie's got like men who all want to marry her. They all want to be with her. And then Miss Pettigrew's like, I've never been in love. No one's wanted to marry me. That just hasn't been on my path because I've been a governess. So I felt like sadness for her in that. But apart from that, the book is very fun and upbeat. Whereas the film, I feel, it's still got a fun upbeatness to it, but it's a bit more serious. Like there are things to do with the war in it. Also, the character of Edith de Barry is completely different. Don't. I read the book and then I saw the film and I was like, what? Edith in the book is Flossie's friend, and she's really lovely, and she's like a designer, a fashion designer, isn't she? And she owns say that again, sorry?
She's got her own beauty parlour.
She's got her own beauty parlour, that's right. And she gives Miss Pettigrew kind of a bit of a makeover, doesn't she? And she's really warm and accepting. And she's like, do you know what? We're going to go out tonight and you're going to come with us, Miss Pettigrew. And she's lovely, Edith in the book. Edith in the film is a monster. Don't! What did you feel about her in the film?
I hated Edith in the film. When I watched it, I wanted to like throw things at my TV. I was like, what is this?
Why would they do that?
I have no idea. It just takes so much away from it. But I also don't like Delicia in the film.
What one's Delicia? Floss?
Yeah.
Oh, why? Amy Adams plays her, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't get why they put her as an American.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe Amy Adams couldn't do a British accent,
maybe.
So they said the American.
Yeah.
But also, I think she comes off quite ditzy, stupid, really shallow, and she's not like that at all. She's someone who is using herself, and she's very clever with it to get out what she wants in life. Mm-hmm. You know, she's using these men absolutely brilliantly. You know, she's got bills left, right, and centre for all these wonderful clothes, and she just sends them off to the next person that
because she's a nightclub singer, isn't she? So she's someone's helping her kind of with her career, and then someone else is helping her with something else, and she's got all these rich men who she's very beautiful. She's almost like kind of a bit of a Marilyn Monroe character I was imagining her to look like in the book. When I was reading it, I thought she's going to have short blonde hair, she's going to be like Marilyn Monroe, which Amy Adams isn't that type. She doesn't look like that type. But yeah, she is intelligent in a way that she is using them, but the men are using her because they don't really know anything about her. So it's kind of a two-way street. They don't know anything about her. They just think she's very beautiful and want to sleep with her, and that's kind of it. And then she's using that to kind of better, so that they're both getting something out of it in that kind of sense.
I do watch the film quite a bit, but I do completely separate the film to the book. The book is so much better than the film, like hands down. And the thing is as well, I think what the film did, which was a bit of a shame, I think they take it too fast, like pacing wise. Like I like that they added things like a fashion show. I think that's nice because it's very much of its age. But I do think they kind of rush so much of it that you lose a lot of like character development. And the slow points where they're just like, there are times where they're literally just ordering some dinner or something and they're having a chat, and you get to really understand and know these characters on a much deeper level rather than in the film.
The film also has a lot of music in it, doesn't it? It's a lot of kind of music behind the scenes, and it's glamorous, and it's we're going here, we're going there. But the book is a lot slower. It's slowed down. It's more about their interactions with each other. And also, I didn't feel in the book, I really felt for Miss Pettigrew with her like she's never loved. Whereas I felt like that wasn't in it as much in the film. It was more like Flossie's love life is an absolute shambles, and then Edith is trying to derail Miss Pettigrew, and I was like, what? Edith was so nice in the book. And also, no one was horrible to Miss Pettigrew in the book. I think that's why I really liked it. It was kind of escapism in that way that no one was vicious to her, and it was almost like she thought like she was lesser than these glamorous people and she shouldn't have been there, but no one else thought that about her.
In the book, she still thinks that she's there as the governess role. Yeah. She hasn't realised that they've been mixed up, and she's not there. It's the maid that Miss LaFosse has lost, not a governor. So you get to the end of the book, and she's still thinking that there's children around somewhere.
Yeah, that's what's so great about it. But in the film, I felt like I was just worried about Edith. I was like, oh no, don't hurt Miss Pettigrew. She's got everything.
It was such
too much.
Terrible adaptation. And also, Edith's backstory in the book is actually really interesting about how she got her beauty salon and how she's done similar to Delicia with using herself to get up in life, and now she's really successful. But that is completely missed in the film, and they've just turned her into
She's just a villain. She's just horrible. She's a really horrible, nasty, snobby individual who, Miss Pettigrew, she's like, oh, she doesn't belong in our group, and then just spends the whole film derailing her. I liked the war bits in the film, but they did at times feel a bit like shoehorned in. Like I liked when, was it Miss Pettigrew and Nick were having a conversation about war, and they were saying about like memory, people forget about like, past wars. With Joe, people forget about past wars, but because Miss Pettigrew and Joe are a bit older, they remember things more. And, like, the young people don't really know what's to come. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really great bit. But when they're in the nightclub and then the sirens are going off and the lights go off, it felt a bit shoehorned in to make it a bit more dramatic for the film, where I don't really feel that they needed to. I would love this to be turned into a play, though.
Yes.
The book into a play would be absolute, and Edith not being a villain.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
And have and also the ending, to have the loyal ending as well. They changed the ending so why? But I would love this book to be adapted into a film which is true. You know how you get people like, for instance, you've just had Graham on, David Suchet,
who was in episode 1 of Favourite Books. He was a great guest. You're a great guest too.
David Suchet is a complete character method actor, and to get into that role, he got the bunch of Poirot books, he got a pen and paper, he read the books, and as he was going, he was writing everything down. So the first thing he wrote was Belgium, not French. He writes how much sugar he has in his coffee, the fact that he doesn't like tea, etc., etc. I would love someone to take on the film and do it like that, really true to the characters. Because I think the characters make this book, because they're just incredible.
Yeah, who do you think is the main character?
Miss Pettigrew.
I was thinking, who is the main character? Miss Flossie is in it so much, but she's talked about so much, whereas Miss Pettigrew is physically in it so much.
Yeah, I think it's why I think for me she's like the main is just because she changes so much throughout the book. Like at first she's just this 40-year-old virgin daughter of a clergyman, very naive, very sheltered sort of life. And then as she goes through, she's like, oh, this is so exciting. I hope it doesn't slow down and all this stuff. And she's loving the life of Delicia LaFosse. But it's such a change from the first time that we meet her, thinking, I'm going to the workhouse, to the end where it happens. And I won't say what happens.
The Cinderella fairy tale. It's also a book that kind of stayed with me afterwards. And normally books that stay with me are really dramatic and disturbing. And there's certain scenes in the books that almost haunt you. And you're like, oh, I don't really want to remember this scene that I've read. But with this, it was just so charming and so lovely. And I also liked that there wasn't major conflicts in it.
Yeah, I think it is kind of just like almost like the everyday of the 1930s, but from two different perspectives coming together. Yeah. You know, you've got this kind of evil and war of our bodies of Delicia LaFosse and her circle meets the very old-fashioned Miss Pettigrew with her kind of Edwardian Victorian sort of traditional values, and it's very much an everyday book. And I think sometimes the everyday books are just the best books.
Yeah, I do as well, when they really go into human nature. And I think that is a good place to end it there, because I think that is the perfect summary for the book. So thank you very much for joining me. You have a YouTube channel. What kind of videos do you make on your YouTube?
So I do lots of book type videos, particularly classics. I love classics. I also talk about history, because I'm a bit of a history nerd, and I do vintage videos every now and then too.
And you're a huge Agatha Christie fan as well, like myself.
When you asked me to do this, I was like, should I pick an Agatha Christie? Because I adore Agatha Christie, but I thought because of the emotional attachment, I have to pick this one. But if you ever want me back to talk about Agatha Christie, I'm here.
Oh, 100%, yeah. 100%. We could just go through it, me, you, Graham, 3 screens, we're just going through the whole collection.
Oh my gosh, that would be a dream. We need to get a pizza
we're
as well.
Agatha Christie gang, the 3 of us. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. And I will thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another video.